when a haughty influencer attempted to shame Clint Eastwood into taking it easy views at a benefit gala. She would never anticipated that Barron Trump would intervene. In what followed didn't only ruin her. It demonstrated to millions of people why respect for legends is earned via impactful posts that didn't become viral and hollow words. But before we dig in, let me know in the comments where you're perusing this moment. Allow me to lead you to a profound impact on the lives of several influencers. Think about Hollywood legends. It was during one of those glittering charity events in New York, where ancient Hollywood nobility mingles with the next generation of social media stars, the type of setting where every talk might become tomorrow's headline, and every phone may catch a career pivotal moment. Clint Eastwood stood at the center of the room, demanding respect without speaking a word. Aged 93, he conducted himself with the same serene dignity that made him a legend. His presence alone spoke stories of an age when actions spoke louder than tweets. Because respect wasn't anything you required, but gained not far away. 18-year-old Barron Trump observed the room with characteristic attentiveness. Being young, he conducted himself with maturity that frequently shocked others. Being up in the spotlight had taught him the significance of diligent observation and measured reactions. But there was another force in the room that night, a social media influencer with millions of followers renowned for her provocative takes in terrible honesty. She moved through the swarm like a shark sensing blood in the river. Her phone continuously raised, searching for content that might lit her feeds on fire. When her eyes landing on Clint, a smirk crossed her face. She lifted her phone ready to serve her millions of followers what she thinks would be the ultimate viral moment. Mocking a Hollywood legend, little did she know, her next few words wouldn't only backfire, they would start an counter. That would stun millions. And when Barron Trump walked in, let's just say she wasn't ready for what occurred next. The influencer's voice ripped through the lovely environment like nails on a blackboard. "Oh my God, you guys won't believe who's here," she whispered passionately into her phone. "Look. See this fossil over here? Why do they still welcome folks like this? Because wasn't he like relevant in what, the 1800s? Her fans instantly began flooding her live feed with laughs, emoticons, and remarks encouraged. She zoomed close on Clint Eastwood, her comments becoming bolder with each passing second. Honestly, look at him. He probably doesn't even know what TikTok is. This is what's wrong with Hollywood. They can't let go of the past. We need new blood, not these ancient remnants taking up space. A tiny crowd had crowded around her, some uncomfortable, shifting their weight, others pulling out their own phones to capture what was unfolding. The influencer, excited by the attention, continued her performance. You know what's sad? He probably believes he's still relevant. Like, as the world moved on. We don't need these old legends about cowboys and strong guys anymore. We need fresh voices, various viewpoints, not some elderly white person who peaked before the internet existed. Clint Eastwood, ever the professional, kept his dignity, composure. His face remained emotionless, though something sparked in his eyes, not fury, but possibly a calm disappointment. That said, volumes more than any outburst might the impact, interpreted his stillness for weakness. See, he's not even defending himself. Probably doesn't even realize what's occurring. This is why we need to actually. A calm voice interrupted, forcing heads to turn. I assume he understands. Perfectly, Barron Trump had stepped forward, his lofty figure throwing a shadow over the influencer's ring. Illuminate his voice wasn't, but it carried the type of authority. It made people lean in to listen. The influencer's eyes flared up with malevolent delight. This was becoming better than she'd hoped. Now she had two targets. But when she opened her lips to answer, something about Barron's steady stare caused her stop. This wasn't going to go the way she thought. The influencer fast recovered her composure, turning her phone to grab Barron. Very well, if it isn't another remnant of the past. Aren't you a little young to be playing defender of the dinosaurs? Barron's reaction was measured his voice, carrying over the now silent room. You know what's intriguing? You're using a phone worth hundreds of dollars on platforms, worth billions to criticize a man who helped establish the very industry that offers you the freedom to insult him. The influencer rolled her eyes. Oh goodness, what did he ever do but play cowboy and say cheesy sentences? Let me tell you precisely what Clint Eastwood did. Barron answered, his voice taking on an edge that demanded attention. When you're seeking likes with premeditated controversy, this individual was revolutionizing narrative. He wasn't only appearing in movies. He was changing how tales could be told. The influencers neared, but her smirk had lost some of its confidence whatsoever. That was like a million years ago. Things are different. Now you're correct. Barron agreed, unexpected. Her things are different today. And do you know why? Because of individuals like him who weren't the frightened to take chances when it actually meant something. While standing up for your art meant more than merely uploading an edgy comment. He gestured toward her phone. That platform you're utilizing to simulate him, it exists because guys like Clint Eastwood showed us that entertainment could be both meaningful and successful. He didn't just play cowboys. He showed us that complex stories about morality and justice could reach millions. The crowd had grown larger. Phones are raw silently, recording every word. The influencer's live stream was exploding with comments. But for once, she seemed unsure of what to say. But you wouldn't know about any of that, would you? Barron continued, his voice carrying a hint of challenge. Because understanding legacy requires something your followers can't give you. Perspective. The influencer's face flushed red. This wasn't the easy target she'd expected. Oh, so you think just because your dad was president and you hung around some old celebrities, you knew everything? A little smile passed Barron's face. I don't know everything, but I know enough to understand something. You clearly don't. And if you'll let me, I'll explain exactly what that is. The influencer shifted, her stance pointing her phone directly at Barron. You know what? You should be ashamed of yourself. Someone your age should be aligning with people who actually want freedom and new values, who fight for inclusion, not defending this outdated dinosaurs. Something changed in Barron's expression. Not rage, but a sense of clarity that made everyone in the room hold their breath. Freedom, he said, his voice conveying a weight that hushed the whispers. Let me tell you about freedom when you talk about inclusiveness. From your gated neighborhoods and exclusive jets, guys like Clint Eastwood were genuinely breaking limits in Hollywood when he insisted on casting diverse performers in his films. Decades ago, he didn't do it for social media points. He done it because it was right. The influencer's smile faltered as Barron continued, his remarks measured and accurate. You talk about new values. Clint directed a film about a girl boxer. When Hollywood stated it wouldn't sell, he told tales about racial injustice when it might cost you your career. He fought for artistic freedom when studios wished safe formulations. And he accomplished it all without once having to post about how virtuous he was. Phones were raised everywhere, now absorbing every syllable as Barron drove his point home. The distinction between you and him is simple. He genuinely changed things. He didn't merely talk about change for likes and sponsors while you're writing the perfect caption. Regarding making an impact, he was actually out there producing one. And the absolutely ironic part, the very platform you're utilizing to insult him exists because people like him struggled for artistic freedom long before you were born. The influencer's hand clutching her phone had began to tremble. Somewhat. I still think. You think what? Barron interrupted, his tone forceful, but controlled, that uploading filtered photographs and rehearsed controversies somehow makes you more progressive than someone who genuinely moved society ahead, that your performative activism somehow outweighs decades of real transformation. The room was completely silent now. Even the normal background buzz of the incident had ended, and Barron was about to deliver the knockout strike that would make this moment go viral across every social platform. Let me tell you something about Clint Eastwood that your followers couldn't know. Barron resumed, his voice gaining power every time you swipe straight on your phone, enjoying the flexibility to voice your ideas, even the rude ones you're standing on the shoulders of titans who battled for artistic freedom. And Clint, he's one of those titans. The influencer attempted to intervene, but Barron wasn't finished. You see the phone in your palm, the one usage to ridicule those who pave the way for you. Behind every video you publish, every trend you follow, there's a legacy of storytellers who prove that audiences were smarter than the industry thought. Clint was one of the first to trust that audiences could handle complicated stories, moral ambiguity, problematic ideas. He nodded towards Clint, who remained stoically watchful. This dude didn't just behave in movies, he altered how tales might be shared when everyone said spectators merely desired simple good. Shareable storylines. He offered us characters that made us ponder when studios spoke. Certain stories were too hazardous. He proved people incorrect, and he did it all without once having to declare how brave he was. Being on social media, the influencer's face had lost all color. Now her phone was still recording, but her confidence, Merc, was fully faded. Yet, you know, what's most ironic? Barron's voice took on a tone of almost pitying amusement. While you're here insulting him for being antiquated, you're actually illustrating just how timeless his influence is. That right now, millions of young people are watching your live broadcast on platforms that arise due of the creative freedom he and those like him fought for. He stopped allowing his words sink in. The audience was utterly silent, waiting on every word. And here's anything that could truly shock you: the sheer premise of going against the grain of opposing the current quo. That you believe you invented. Clint Eastwood was doing it before your parents were born. The only difference is he did it to make a big difference, not to get more followers. The influencer's phone now felt heavy in her hands. Yet, what occurred next would leave her and her millions of fans absolutely startled. Yet, you want to know the actual difference between you and him. Barron's words pierced through the strain. Clint Eastwood never needed to tear others down to build himself up. Every border he pushed, every risk he made was to lift the whole industry higher, not to gain followers at someone else's expense. The influencer's live broadcast remarks had altered substantially. Her usual fans were becoming silent while fresh voices were streaming in. Is anybody else feeling really uncomfortable right now? Youngsters stating honest facts never imagined I'd see the day an influencer was educated by a teenager. But Barron wasn't done. His next remarks would become the most shared clip of the whole exchange. You know what actual influence is. It's not about how many followers you have or how many brands sponsor your posts. It's about the mark you leave on the globe long after the cameras cease. Because Clint Eastwood created films that modified way people think. When you produce content that modifies how many advertisements you may sell. The room erupted in gasps and murmurs. Numerous people had already started posting snippets of the exchange and number Barron versus influencer waist trending within minutes. While your hissage, Barron kept waving toward Clint. What will be your legacy? A collection of deleted tweets. A few, numerous viral moments criticizing those who horribly built something. Or will you finally understood that genuine influence isn't measured in likes? The influencers and twitched as she lowered her phone. For the first time she appeared to realize she had become the very thing she accused others of being irrelevant. In the face of actual substance. As clips of the exchange extended throughout social media platforms, comments flowed in. From both generations, this kid just educated an entire generation on respect. Never viewed it this way. Before makes you think, had to replay this 5 times. Every word strikes different. But what occurred next would indicate that sometimes the most forceful answer isn't a clapback or a viral moment. It's quiet. And Clint Eastwood was about to illustrate exactly why he was a legend. As the conflict reached its crescendo, all eyes looked to Clint Eastwood, their renowned actor and director who had stayed quiet during the whole exchange, eventually delivered his sentence. Though few bear the weight of decades of wisdom, young guy, he remarked to Barron, his voice bearing that unmistakable growly tone. It has captivated attention for generations. You didn't have to do that. Then turning to the influencer with an phrase that blended dignity with something almost paternal, he added, sometimes the loudest statement, eyes acknowledging, you still have something to discover. The simplicity and grace of his answer struck harder than any furious retort might have. Social media erupted. That's how a legend reacts. Traditional media outlets began taking up the news headlines. Emerged Barron Trump defends Hollywood legend. In viral moment, the influencers, sponsors started reaching out to her management team. Her phone buzzed continuously, with alerts, but not the kind she was used to. Her followers were decreasing by the thousands, while Barron's spontaneous defense of heritage and respect was being shared millions of times. Yet, maybe the greatest revealing answer came from other young influencers who began publishing their own reflections. Viewing this made me think, regarding how we handle legends, maybe we need to evaluate ourselves before going after those that develop the industry we profit from. As the night proceeded, one thing became crystal clear. Sometimes the largest effect comes from understanding when to listen rather than talk. And tomorrow would offer a breakthrough that nobody saw coming. The following days saw the event develop from a viral moment into something more important. As Barron's words continued to resonate throughout social media, a deeper discourse developed concerning respect, legacy, and the link between generations. Other Hollywood veterans began sharing their own memories of Clint Eastwood's effect on their careers, anecdotes about his quiet mentoring, his struggle for artistic freedom, and his steadfast dedication to storytelling swamped social media. Clint handed me my first major break when no one else would. He battled the studio to retain my segment in the movie. He showed me that actions speak louder than words. Yet it was the younger generation's answer that truly exhibited the impact of that night. Young actors and filmmakers started posting, shared their personal experiences with veteran artists, recognizing the amount they owed to those who came before. Watching Barron defend Clint made me understand how much we take for granted. Maybe we need to stop attempting to cancel the past and start learning from it. This youngster comprehended something that many of us missed. The influencer stayed uncharacteristically calm during all of this. Her typical daily posts discontinued. Her podcast episode was delayed, and as excerpts of the conflict continued to circulate, things seemed to be moving in the internet debate regarding generational divides. Clint Eastwood, true to form, hadn't uttered another thing regarding the event. Yet his silence screamed much, especially when contrasted with the noise of social media motions. It was as if he was teaching one final lesson. Sometimes the most strong reaction is no response at all. And then, just when everyone thought the story was over, the influencer did something that nobody expected. A week after the encounter, the influencer posted a video that was distinct from anything she'd ever shared before. No filters, no great lighting, simply raw honesty. I've spent the previous week thinking about what transpired, she began, very emotional, and I need to say anything to Mr. Eastwood, to Barron Trump, and to all of you. Her voice shook little as she proceeded. I built my brand on being brutally honest, but Barron Trump taught me what genuine honesty looks like. It's not about tearing people down for views. It's about sticking up for what's important. Then, staring directly into the camera, she addressed Clint, Mr. Eastwood. I insulted not just you, but everything you symbolize. I mocked decades of labor that made my career possibility. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm promising to do better. The answer received quick and overwhelming reactions flooding. In this is what growth looks like now. This is affecting Ing. Acknowledging when you're wrong. Respect earned when questioned about the events. In a quick interview, Barron Trump just remarked, "Sometimes the youngest person in the room needs to remind everyone what the elder generation taught us. Respect isn't outmoded. It's timeless." Clint Eastwood's reaction. A handwritten letter to the influencer that she subsequently shared. With permission, it read, "Merely the true measure of character isn't never making errors. It's what you learn from them." The narrative may have stopped there, yet its effect continues to ripple through social media. Once someone starts to ridicule a legacy person, now comments fast emerge. Remember what Barron said about standing on the shoulders of giants in an age where going viral often involves pulling people down. This became something unusual. A reminder that real impact isn't about following or likes. It's about the influence you leave on people, the respect you show, and the wisdom to comprehend that every generation has anything to educate the next. If you find value in this tale, make sure to like and subscribe for more inspirational stories that remind us what truly matters. Thank you for staying with me to the end. This is Ludwig signing off.